let's talk pre-order pricing of single cards before release. I'm going to help you understand why sometimes the price of a card is extremely high before release, before anyone even has the card in their hand. If you've been sitting around noticing almost before every release, a specific card is like skyrocketed, right? Great example is right now, currently, if you go look at the Pokemon Go set, we have the Radiant Venusaur sitting at $400. Do you think that Venusaur is $400? Better question. Would you spend $400 on that Venusaur? No? Boba, what about you? Boba won't spend $500 on that Venusaur. That's what he's going to turn into one day. For you guys who don't know, this is Big Boss Boba. He has a tie. He's the guy who runs the company. He's the owner, CEO. What? I'll tell them. He's the founder. He created it all, okay? So anytime there's an issue, you blame him, okay? He beat me once for, not letting people know he runs everything. Ugh. So, let's look back. What cards have done this? Well, right now we're seeing it with the Mewtwo V Alt Art. We're seeing it with almost all the Radiant cards. They're extremely high. We saw this with the Charizard Rainbow V-Star, the Charizard Alt Art. We've seen it with pretty much every set that's come out. The top 2 or 3 chase cards are always skyrocketing high. Then once release happens, it slowly comes down. And then usually by release date, the card is a fraction of what it was initially put up for. Why does this happen? Well, I remember as a kid, there was one big strong kid on the playground. And that one big strong kid on the playground got to determine what everyone else paid for a bag of hot fries. This wasn't because he had a supply of hot fries. It was just he was the biggest, strongest kid on the playground. And if you wanted to get the hot fries, you'd have to get it from him. So he got to decide what everyone paid for it because he essentially was stealing your money, okay? He got in trouble. It ended. But that's what was going on. He was charging double the price of what a bag of hot fries was. I think we were paying like $0.25 at the time for it. So he was charging like 75 cents to $1. Why could he charge so much? Was it hot fries were worth that much? No. Same price at the local market you go to. The issue was, we weren't at the local market. We were on the playground. That was the only place you could go get the hot fries at. He controlled the table. If only one person can sell something, he gets to dictate the price. If he gets to dictate the price, he gets to set it to whatever he wants it to be. Does that mean that's what it's worth? No. Because no market, right? Because we live in a society, if you live in the U.S., of free markets. That essentially means anyone can sell an item, right? I know free markets don't mean much today because everything's regulated, but almost anyone can say, hey, I'll sell this as well. So if you ever get someone who's being corrupt and saying, I'm going to sell this for 900 times more than what it's worth, you have someone who can produce the same thing and compete with them. So hopefully to stop that practice with freedom of choice, okay? That's the idea anyways. We live in a pretty close society to that. So when you have one person controlling the market, they can say it is whatever they want it to be. And that doesn't mean it's the price, it doesn't mean it's worth it. But you'll have a few people who will still pay that price because they can afford it, right? This is why you will see someone buy that Venusaur Radiant card for $400. That money's probably not worth as much to them, right? They probably have a lot more of it, so they are willing to do that. That doesn't make it the price of that item. So once release hits, what happens is other people get to come in and start adding the price. Because before release, TCG has a lot bigger requirement for you to put up pre-orders. So you don't see the general market, the general sellers on there. So you have a lot more of a select few selling. So by the time release happens, the market has now decided what the price will be because it will slowly lower down to what the market wants it to be at, of what people find is a fair price, right? And sellers find it at a fair price, right? Right now, we live more at a time where sellers are more concerned with moving it quickly than at a higher cost. Because right now, if you ever watch TCG Player, it's a race to the bottom, right? As soon as release happens, it's boom, 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 boom. You'll see lower and lower and lower pricing, okay? I've been in these battles with people. When I first started the store, the way we sold and got our ratings up was by being the lowest person on TCG Player. When a release happened, I was on my phone staring at it, refresh, every minute. If someone put a price lower than me, I immediately lowered my price by a penny. And then by 2 days later, that price was down by several dollars, right? So the market will set the price of that item. The reason the price is so much higher before release is because the market isn't allowed to set the prices yet. Because there's only 1, 2, maybe a handful of sellers who are setting it, and they don't want to set it at the lowest what they think it's going to be. That'd be dumb, because as soon as the other people get in, it's going to just drop. So you set it extremely high. You may have someone who decides, hey, I got more money than what I need. I was burning it in my backyard earlier. Let me spend $800 on this Venusaur. No offense, Bulbasaur. So they'll spend it, and they just made an extra profit. They do that just so they don't lowball themselves. They're expecting it to drop. They're just waiting. Okay. Now this happens most of the time, but this can also happen in reverse. Good example: Machamp v Altart. What happened with that card? Look at all our Altarts throughout history, right? All the non-main Altarts throughout history. Like the ones, a good example would be Zera or V. Not the advertisement card, not the promotional card. $45 right now, $49, something like that. Genesect, right? No, that's a promotional card. Greedent, $10, right? Many cards are like that. So I think what happened with Machamp V is people were like, okay, this is a Altart, it's really nice, but every Altart before it that's in the middle of the pack that's not a promotional card is usually like 40, 50, 60 bucks. So they're like, let's price it $60 because I want to sell it, I want to move it, but I also want a decent amount of money. And the market corrected that. The market was like, no, that price is worth more. Why? People looked at that price and was like, I'm willing to pay that much for that card. I think it's a beautiful card. I will pay it. So many people bought it. I know there's a lot of people thinking it was a buyout. I don't think it was, just because there were so many independent buyers. Yes, you could create accounts to do that, but you don't need to. It's not going to benefit them to make a bunch of fake bot accounts to buy one card unless they were like canceling the orders. But if they were canceling the orders and doing that, then the price would have stayed the same because the seller would have just relist the item. So I think it was generally people were like, hey, I would pay that much for that card. That's a nice card. I think it will go up in value. So many people start buying, and then sellers were like, oh, I can sell it for high. So they started backing up because they didn't want to sell it so quickly. But the people kept buying. That slowly got to 120. So the market will dictate what the value will be pretty accurately most of the time. Okay. But before release, the market hasn't had a chance to do so yet. So that's something to keep in mind anytime you're looking at cards before release. Those aren't the values. Not yet. We don't know what the supply is going to be of them. We don't know what the demand is going to be of them because the market isn't awake yet. This Pokemon Go set's going to be a good example because it's a very small print set, right? There's not very many cards in the set. And a lot of people are going to be opening this. So I have a feeling those Radiant cards are going to be very, very abundant. And we're going to see those drop. Great example, Celebrations. You guys remember when that first came out? That Charizard? That Umbreon? Very expensive. I think that Umbreon was selling for over $100. Right? It's down to like, what, 20 bucks now? Charizard, the same thing. Super cheap now. Venusaur and Blastoise was selling for $40, $80. Or $2 or $3 now. It's because there's so many of them now, right? Even the people who want to invest and hold on to them and believe they're going to be worth something later, there's just so many of them. So there's not much value in holding on to them. And I think Pokemon Go single cards will be very similar to this. So please don't go run out and buy Venusaur for $400. Bulbasaur's worth more. Wait. wait till the release day and see it collapse within the first day, and then decide. So this is just me saying, I think the price is going to come down. This will apply to every set from here on out. When you see that inflated price and you're like, oh my god, that's ridiculous pricing before release, it's because it is. Okay? The market hasn't said what it wants yet. You can be part of that market. Jump over to bubblecards.com and buy some single cards over there if you would like. We have fair competitive pricing. We are typically lower priced than TCG players, so be sure to check out our singles. We're not as up to date on our singles as TCG, as in we don't update instantly when the price changes. We do have to do that manually, so sometimes it's not as up to date as always, but we do it regularly, and we do try to keep competitive with TCG pricing. If you like this type of video where we sit down and discuss things like this, I have a few more videos I think you may like down in the link below, so be sure to check those out, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.